Thank you, Mr. Stube.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, your department has cleared a CMS rule that is waiting for White House approval. It would overhaul the Medicare Advantage enrollment process, undermining the integrity of the program and pushes us closer to Medicare for all. In my district, I represent a constituent with nearly 20 years of Medicare experience who has served over 250,000 people who said of your agency's push, and I quote, "The proposed rule will harm the most vulnerable beneficiaries because they are dependent on support to access the ongoing health services they require for their own well-being." In the contract year 2025 Medicare Advantage and Part D proposed rule, CMS proposes certain changes to agent and broker compensation for enrolling individuals in MA plans. The proposed rule has implications for Medicare beneficiaries, field marketing organizations, or FMOs, and agents and brokers who all play important roles in helping seniors select and enroll in the MA plan that best meets their needs. The HHS proposal would limit fees in the enrollment market for everyone, not just the bad actors who are aggressively pressuring seniors to sign up for a plan. This committee has been engaged on this issue. I led a letter with a majority of Republicans on this committee to CMS trying to get clarification and answers. Unfortunately, your agency sent the rule to OMB for final review before responding to our letter, almost 2 months later, with a less than satisfactory response. Mr. Secretary, are you familiar with the letter that we sent to CMS?
I believe I am.
So you've read it?
I believe I'm familiar with what it says. I couldn't tell you that I had a chance to read it in the recent past.
It's signed by myself, Mr. Buchanan, Mr. Adrian Smith, Mr. Kelly, Mr. LaHood, Mr. Winstrup, Mr. Ferguson, Mr. Estes, Mr. Hearn, Mrs. Miller, Mrs. Tenney, Mrs. Maliatakis, Ms. Van Dyne, and Mr. Carey. Are you familiar with the response letter that we received from CMS?
I believe you just received it not long ago, right?
It's dated March 1st, 2024. Have you reviewed this?
Again, it would have been a while ago.
Well, it's only like 20 days ago. So you don't remember reviewing the response from CMS?
Congressman, a lot of things happen in 20 days.
Well, I mean, you were coming to this hearing and you had a letter to CMS, which it's the agency underneath you, right? You
Congressman, I'm going through a whole lot of stuff. What I'm telling you is I do recall the issue. Can I tell you that I read it in the last day or so? I could tell you for a fact, not in the last day. I know I have been briefed on this issue.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add to the record both our letter, which is the majority of the Republicans on this committee, and I'd also like to add to the record the response from CMS.
Without objection.
Do you know why CMS didn't respond to us, the Committee of Jurisdiction, before sending the rule to final review?
Congressman, the process that CMS undertakes takes quite a while. That you would have known the process was underway.
Right, we sent the letter January 12th.
Our process would have begun way before then.
So your answer is you don't know?
No, I'm telling you that we began a process. We engage with members of Congress as they reach out to us.
This is the Committee of Jurisdiction, correct? And you had the majority of the majority on this committee send a letter to CMS, and I'm simply saying, why is it that you guys sent the rule to finalization before responding to the Committee of Jurisdiction's majority?
Congressman, remember that the fact that we send the proposal to another interagency within the federal government doesn't mean it's done, that there won't be any changes that are made.
You sent it to the White House at this point. Okay, well, the response letter we received from the CMS administrator says, and I'm quoting, "The proposed single compensation rate is based on calculations that we described in detail in the proposed rule." I just reviewed the letter again. It's not detailed in the proposed rule. There's barely anything there, and CMS is proposing a $31 cap for these services. Do you believe that $31 is a fair amount for these services?
Congressman, what I can tell you, what I recall is that we're trying to avoid having incentives that would have a broker or dealer direct patients to a particular type of plan over another, which may not be the best in the best interest of a patient.
But as I just described, there's a ton of other very good businesses out there that are providing services to my constituents and everybody else on this committee to put them in the right plan.
Well,
so what I'm asking you is, do you believe that the $31 that's in this rule promulgated by CMS that you approved is a fair amount?
I believe the rule tries to attack a problem of having patients being referred to particular plans not because of the best
But you can't use a sledgehammer for a needle.
Oh,
like that can't be the approach. So I'm just simply asking if you think $31 for what these people do is a fair amount.
Again, what we're trying to do is prevent steering of patients into plans.
Do you know any of the services that are provided by some of these organizations?
I'm sorry?
Do you know any of these services that are provided by the FMOs?
Do I know
that you're now putting $31 as the amount that they do? I'll
you
give
talking about
exam-
the
I have
broker?
5 seconds left, so I'll give you examples. IT, infrastructure, logistics, human resources, marketing, partnership, broker training support, beneficiary enrollment support, compliance, retention, leadership and management, which a number of these individuals rated about $615, and the rule is saying $31. I just think that this needed to be addressed. You had members of this committee that were concerned about it, and we were basically ignored for 2 months, and they promulgated the rule anyways. And I would expect that the Committee of Jurisdiction would get a little bit more respect, especially from a former member of this committee. I yield back.